General safety, holiday safety and crime prevention, because again, what Fridays is supposed to be a big shopping day, but as my wife has told me already, that Black Friday has already been killed because everybody does Black Friday deals before Black Friday now, and it really started dying when he started doing, I used to call it Gray Thursday, when they started having people show up at Walmart at 6 o'clock in the evening on Thursday night after Thanksgiving. I'm sure my wife enjoyed after making a mess, leaving, and I had to clean up the mess, so it worked out well for her, but it kind of killed the spirit of the whole getting up at the crack of dawn to make things happen. But people tend to forget themselves around this time of year and don't think about it because it's a happier time of year, so we're not really thinking about all the bad stuff that's going on in the world. When people are not thinking about this stuff, we start to stop thinking about the basic things that will keep us safe. So we'll hopefully talk about this stuff about 10, 15 minutes to answer any questions you have them. What I noticed when I was preparing this brief and putting it all together, most of the stuff that I talk about here was the exact same stuff that I got phrased slightly differently, but the same stuff that I was briefed when I was in the Marine Corps doing counterterrorism stuff. So apparently, if we can stop a terrorist, we can stop a thief. And if we can stop a thief, we can stop a terrorist. So I might run for office on that, right? Yeah. All right, so our outline today is this is what we're going to go through. Talk about stuff about being at home, and then when you go out shopping, traveling, a little real brief thing about children, and then online, because as my junk file on my own emails hitting up all the time, I got tons of people saying, hey, you've won this, click here, sort of stuff, and it doesn't end well when you do click on those things. So moving forward, home, nice little picture there. If you're staying home, what do we start thinking about when we're staying home? We're securing our house. Emerald Isle is a very pretty place and very low crime rate here, so we don't think about so much going on. Anybody leave their doors unlocked when they're home? No? There's one. Well, the retired officer doesn't. The first thing I tell people, practice general security. Even if you're in the house, keep your doors locked. Somebody comes to the door, look through, don't open the door automatically, look through the window or look through the peephole, see who's at the door. Are you expecting somebody there? Especially this time of year when people are receiving packages or they're receiving money or they're receiving guests, people tend to kind of just let their doors open up. You can't slip up like that. You need to stay on top of those things and practice those good general security measures. We have a neighborhood watch program, and they are very watchful, so that's good. But the general security things, make sure you have your lights on. You know, if you have walkway lights, this house is a great example. You see how it's kind of blocked with the garage on one side and the front door on the other, right? If that's not lit up, that's going to provide a really good dark spot for somebody to hide. If you look out your window, if you're keeping your general maintenance on your house going, you should know when your lights are out on your porch or your lights are out in your garage. If you just change the light bulb and the light is out all of a sudden, well, it's one of two reasons. One, faulty fixture, or two, like they used to do in the neighborhood I grew up in, they come and unloosen the light up so you can see in the darkness. Fortunately for me, or unfortunately for me, I grew up in a very high crime ridden area in northern New Jersey, so I don't trust anybody. I think everything looks dangerous, and I'm always on end, and that was before the Marine Corps got its 20 years of me going to war and all this other stuff involved in it. Now, the 2 years of me being a police officer, as if I wasn't hyper-vigilant and untrusting enough, I'm just reinforcing stereotypes at this point. But practice your general security. Be aware of your surroundings, even at home. This is North Carolina, so almost everybody, we'll stereotype this one, almost everybody has a gun in the house at some point. Where is that gun located? If you needed to get it in an emergency, is somebody going to be able to get to your gun before you can? The other part I'll caution people with, and it's a conversation I had with my wife a couple of times, especially when she got comfortable with me having a gun readily available. When you go to sleep at night and when you have family coming over, where is that gun when you sleep at night? Is it tucked underneath your mattress so you get startled and you grab it right away? Or is it someplace that you have to take? I use a two-step rule. I have to make two distinct steps before I can get the firearm out there. Why do I do that at night? Anyone have an idea?
In case you wake up and you're not really quite sure where you are.
Exactly. So instead of just having it right there next to the bed and something startles me, I wake up, grab it, and I'm shooting blind. I've now forced myself to wake up completely, forces me to assess the situation before I actually grab the firearm and then do stuff like that. So I have teenage kids, God help them if they break in, sneak around at night, you know, but I do know that I do have a safety in place of forcing myself to wake up, not just grabbing something out of cold, startled awake because of a noise. Although I sleep through everything now, so the wife usually gets up with the baseball bat and walks down, and I yell at her, so, you know, why don't you just at least wake me up? She's like, you can't wake you up. And it's like, all right, well, I apologize, honey. So you got to deal with it, right? Stuff like that you need to think about. Be wary, and many people already are, of people walking around the neighborhood, especially this time of year. If you have stuff in the front of your house that looks expensive, then your house is going to become a target. So if somebody's walking up, if you take a look at your house from the street where people are typically allowed to walk, right, from the sidewalk or on the street or whatever, can they see the expensive plasma TV through the window up there? If they can, you may want to think about shades or blinds or something like that, or moving the wall-mounted extremely expensive TV to another wall, which can be an expensive and painful process to do that. But those are things you need to think about. People can see it from there, make it less attractive. Parking your car in your driveway or on the road, right? Everybody's been hearing about the break-ins of cars. It's happening a lot out in my neck of the woods over on the other side of the sound. People, for the life of me, I don't understand. People keep leaving valuables and jewelry and computers, and the biggest one, guns, inside their locked cars, in their driveways, or on the street where they're parking. And kids are just going around, and then they don't lock their doors either. So they test the door opens up, they go in there. If not, they smash a window and grab what they can. The whole point of this being is, if you have something that looks attractive, locks only keep honest people honest. So don't have stuff inside the car that would attract attention. Don't have stuff visible from the road that would attract attention to your particular house. Don't have a pile of, if your Christmas trees can be seen from the road, don't have the stockpile of presents that you have to be generous to everybody visible with your tree from the road, because that's all like, oh, hey, as soon as somebody's out for a long period of time, if they're watching the area, they're gonna hit your house next. Especially if you're living in a wealthy, affluent area, that's where people know where the expensive stuff is. Talk about receipts and PII. PII, personal identifiable information. That's your social security number, your date of birth, your address, your phone number now at this point, even email addresses. The least amount of information now is needed to get a ton of information on you, which somebody knows what they're doing and out there. And then you get into the dumpster diving, garbage, trash, people going through your trash, looking for receipts. So if you have receipts, you have billing information, that's the sort of stuff that you need to kind of shred and destroy before you put it out in the trash, so they can they help protect your identity and help protect people from finding out any more information. And then mail. Anybody still send cash through the mail? No? Okay. How many people send gift cards? You have? Okay. Still send checks through the mail? A few? Okay. I don't know how advanced the check washing technology is these days, but again, at this point, I would say at least 3 or 4 Christmas cards every year is sent, of the ones that are sent to my house, have a nice little slit across the thing and have been resealed as people are checking for money, whether it's at the post office or somebody going around checking the mailboxes or whatever. And it's every year like that. And so if you are mailing, a gift card or something like that to a family member in another state, or you're expecting something like that be sent to you, that's a good communication you need to have with whoever you're corresponding with, so that if the slit in the envelope happens and something's missing out of there, at least you can make a report to the Postal Service. I don't think much is going to come of it, but at least you can make that report and say, hey, we're expecting this envelope came and it was opened up, and the Christmas card was in there, but the money was removed. Don't send cash in the mail. But same thing with, at this point, gift cards are almost as good as cash, and some people still do check washing. So Safety hazards. Everybody seen that movie Christmas Vacation with Chevy Chase? Yeah. So when you're getting ready to light up your house, that the power station has to set up the auxiliary thing out there, just use separate plugs for the separate lights. All right, the monstrosity right there in the garage when he opens it up and it dangled like eight levels deep in there. That's the sort of thing that bad electrical fires are made of. And we're gonna see it there. My wife texted me this morning about hearing sirens yet again down in our neck of the woods. A lot of fire calls, a lot of crash calls, a lot of EMS calls. And I told her it's just the beginning, because 'tis the season for all these things to start happening more frequently with people just, for some reason, losing their common sense. We're gonna deep fry the turkey underneath a wooden overhang. What could go wrong, right? I think the fire department does a great demonstration of that. We had them blow up a couple of turkeys when I was at MCT. It was awesome. But that sort of stuff. And then your trees. Anybody do live trees still? No? Thank God. I did that once. It was annoying. And then trying to get rid of the tree at the end of the season. But if you do have a live tree, the watering of that's important. Again, I go back to that cinematic classic of Christmas Vacation, and the guy drops his stogie lighter in the thing and blows up the tree. I was trying to get the film clips. I'm still not that technical, capable to get the film clips embedded in the PowerPoints. Otherwise, we would be watching movies the entire time. Better than me talking. Okay, shopping, personal security. Now this is, so we talked about a little bit, I'll back up a little bit to the parking the car. When I was going through training for anti-terrorism and force protection in the military, one of the things they talked about was that the inside of the car needs to be squeaky clean with nothing in there, and the outside of the car can be as dirty as you want it to be. And it's actually preferred to be dirty on the outside. So there's some car people here, I'm sure, cringing right now at that statement. But the point behind having a dirty car on the outside is that you can see somebody's handprints on the dirt if they're messing around to put a bomb underneath your car. Why do we have anything clean on the inside? Well, for thieving purposes, we don't want thieves looking at, hey, look at all this nice stuff in the car. But for anti-terrorism purposes, if there's no clothes in the car, there's no junk in the car, and the car is squeaky clean, they can't get into the car, place something inside the car, and then leave because you'd see something out of place. Whereas if you have your laundry and people who live out of their cars, I can hide whatever I want in that junk of stuff, right? So reversely, in this case, we want the car clean on the inside and clean on the outside because we like to have a nice presentation. But what you have with the car also draws attention to yourself, right? So last week at the last Saturday at the car show, I saw somebody drive in with a $150,000 Aston Martin, beautiful car. I was like, I was not worthy to even be in its presence. I stared at it off at a distance, and then right next to it was a Lamborghini. I was like, oh, well, I'm not, stayed back from it. I would highly recommend those are not the cars you take to go Christmas shopping. Okay, that's the point of that. How you present yourself, how you carry yourself. Again, if you are going Christmas shopping like you're dressed out to go to an opera at the Met is probably not the way to go Christmas shopping. And some people do make it a whole to-do, and there is something to be said for being dressed cleanly and presentable in today's society. But all those little things that you don't think about, your high-end jewelry because it's that time of year and you have that on and you don't think about it, that's all the stuff that puts little target indicators on you. Hey, this person's got a little bit of money, or this person's got a little bit of stuff going on, and that's where people who are looking to do bad things are going to pick you out of the crowd. So in this case, when you're out doing your personal shopping, you're trying to be as much as possible that gray man, as we called it in the boot camp, which was, the drill instructor never saw you because you never got into trouble, but you never did anything really good. This is what I want you to be when you're shopping. Don't get into trouble. Don't do anything extravagant, so nobody pays attention to you, and you're just another person in the crowd as you're going out about doing things. For the gentleman, wallets in the front pocket. Why?
It's easier to get out of the back pocket.
It is easier to get out of the back pocket. Your back, your backside is not as sensitive as your front side, right? So out there about this. That was the number one tip on when I was looking for stuff to put together for this class from the NYPD. No, it's like number one, put your wallet in your front pocket. put up there, and then be aware of people bumping into you, and do that self pat down, because your front side is a little bit more sensitive than your back side.
We had a friend of mine in San Paulo, we were traveling, and we were walking the street, and he got bumped twice, and we knew what was gonna happen third time. And they cut his front pocket, and just everything in his pocket, they got it.
Yeah.
In his front pocket, and he didn't even know it,
They cut it?
they cut it.
Oh my God, that could be dangerous.
His front, he had stuff in his front pocket.
Well, it's Brazil, they're practicing.
San Paulo was really bad, it was really bad. I mean, they had some of the slickest pickpockets in the world, I think.
Well, yeah, I've always been impressed with the ingenuity of third world countries for being able to separate people from their belongings. Right? Especially when you deal with your typical third world country person is not going to try to strong arm mug a guy like me, but they'll figure out a way to sneakily get away from it. But typically your front side is more sensitive to your back side, especially when you're dealing with American criminals who are not as finessed as our third world practice brethren. Purse is close to your body but not around. So did anybody have a time when he told you to put the purse like strap around your body, across the body? They used to teach that, right? They stopped telling you to do that?
Not that I know of. I think that's something that's
All right, so
to do.
again, one of those things, especially with how violent people are getting these days, this is not stopping anybody anymore. So now what you're gonna have is somebody who's gonna pull the purse, pull you with it, and now you're going for a ride as they're trying to get this thing off, and they're gonna get it off there. So what you don't wanna do is have it hanging down to make it easy for them, but you don't wanna have it so hard that you're gonna get yourself seriously hurt for it, and for what? What's really in your purse? Some cash, some cards, you can cancel cards, you can get your new ID replaced. What we can't have is serious injury or death result because somebody's trying to grab your purse. But by keeping it close to your body, it's less of a target. But keeping it strapped from your body, it's more of a personal safety thing. But if you're still doing it, you're comfortable doing it, I'm not going to tell you don't, but something to consider, because when they grab that purse and they're yanking at it, it's not like, hey, give this to me, please, or whatever. And you're going to go. Carry what you need and you intend to use, right? So anybody walking around with wads of cash? No? Not anymore? No wads of cash. All right? So back in the day, I used to walk around with $200 because the Bruce Springsteen song told me that you could rock all night on that, right? Now,
Depends on the.
that's what I said. That's what I said. So I used to go out of the house all the time with $200, right? So you could rock all night, depending on the girl. And now it's, I get about $100 a week allowance from the wife, and I'm perfectly fine with that, right? But if somebody gets my wallet, they're not getting a whole lot of money out of me to begin with, right? So it doesn't hurt as much. But people tend to, and that's how most people walk around during the rest of the year. But at Christmas time, what do they have? Either, my wife is very frugal about, we put the Christmas money aside all year round, so we're not going into debt to provide a good Christmas for the kids, right? So now there's these wads of cash that my wife is walking around with as she's doing all the Christmas shopping. She's gotten out of that habit now as well, but that was one of those things because we like the idea of not charging stuff to the credit card and then being in debt for Christmas. We have it all paid off by the time it happens, but that also increases the likelihood that we're carrying large volumes of money around on us. So everything proper planning prevents piss poor execution. For those of us that have heard this before, plan your shopping trips. Go with some people out there. Bring what you intend to use and what you need to use. I always have, a debit card and a credit card on me for emergency purposes, and then whatever cash I intend to use. Never more than $100 on me at any given time. If I'm going specifically to buy something, which the easy side for me is I usually only have to buy for my wife, all that stresses me out to no end because I either get it right or I get it really wrong. And when I get it right, I do know that I'm going to a specific store. This item that I'm getting her costs this specific amount, and I am going to pay that out and then have it go and then go straight back to the car. That leads on to the secure before moving, right? So if you're leaving the store, anybody ever get their change back in their wallet and they're walking out the store and they have their wallet in their hand and they're putting their change away. I do that all the time, I must confess. Part of it is because I still think I'm the baddest person on the planet and nobody's gonna mess with me. The other part is I'm just too stupid to realize that I'm getting older and it's not gonna work. That's one of those things, before you leave the store, before you leave the transaction, before you leave that security of the cameras, the other people around, you wanna have your wallet put away, you wanna have your purse put up, however you're gonna have it, and then whatever you're carrying out is relatively securing yourself, right? And we're talking high-end stores. If you're leaving a high-end store, you probably want to put that bag or that thing that identifies a high-end object in something that doesn't look as high-end, right? So a simple thing of, here's a person walking out with a Walmart bag, and here's a person walking out with a Sharper Image bag, for lack of a better thing. Who's the bad guy going to go after? All right, Sharper Image person. So put the Sharper Image bag in the Walmart bag. And if you're really paranoid about it, bring a bunch of Walmart bags with you everywhere you go and you put everything in Walmart. But little things like that. Talked about the clothing already. Using ATMs, common sense stuff. The ATM that's at the end of the dark corner that nobody ever goes by, that you think gets a little better rate on the exchange, is probably not the one you want to go to. You know, using the store, use the one, I like to use the one in the store because you have the cash register person there, you have people coming in and out, you know everything's on camera, and for somebody to actually target you, you'd have to go into a store to get you. So that's how, I don't like the standalone ones, even if it's well lit, I don't like the standalone ones, especially at night, because you're out there. When you're parking your cars, well, park in a well lit area, I don't like parking with a bunch of other cars because you don't know who's in between the cars. And I also like the fact that I need to get my steps in, so I park further away, and then I get yelled at for making my wife walk that far, but I make it happen. She's getting her step counts up, so now she's not complaining as much. But I kind of park where I'm a little bit separate, and I can see around the car a bit better, but usually under a light. So, you know, most bad guys don't like to be seen. That's why you park under a light. Even as far away, they can't hide anywhere around there to sneak up on you. No visible valuables in the car, no visible valuables on you, so that, you know, when you're going out shopping or going out where you're going to be out in a lot of public, the fancy wristwatch or the fancy necklace or whatever you happen to have is probably not the time to wear it. Again, you're just drawing attention to yourself and trying to be the great person. And then move briskly. It's not a Sunday stroll time. You know your target. Target's my car. I'm walking straight from my car, or straight from the store to my car, straight from the car to my store. I'm not strolling around here. I'm not going to go take a look at this. I am mission focused on getting to where I need to go in the quickest manner possible. You know, I'm not doing that. So how many times do you see people now just walking around, and if anybody's at the car show, you see a bunch of people walking around the car show on their phones. Oh, look at the car, back on their phones. Generally not aware of what's going on. It's so bad at this point now that people have headphones on, or they have those little earbuds on, and they're getting the public service announcements to take the earbuds out because you can't hear what's going on around you, and we're completely distracted. Overloading yourself with bags. You have a ton of bags in your hands when you're trying to walk. What's that telling people? You just spend a lot of money, so what does that probably have? You either have a lot of expensive stuff in the bags worth taking, or you still have a lot of money that's left spending. I'm gonna go talk to this person. So making trips, having your stuff planned, if you can consolidate the bags into each other, for you only have one bag in your hand going out there, all those things will make you less of a target or look less of a target. Have your keys out before you leave in the store. So how many people have seen that slasher movie there where the person runs to the car and then they're fumbling in their pocket to get their keys out, and then the keys are like this and the guy's walking with the axe. And for some reason, for as fast as they're running, the guy never gets up past a walking pace, and the slasher still catches them. Because they're fumbling with their keys. Have your keys out ready to go, right? So two things. One, everybody know about putting the keys in between your hands if you need to scratch somebody or punch somebody. So if you have your keys out already, it makes it easier for that. But two, you're not fumbling with the keys. Again, people fumbling around with their cars, they stop paying attention, and people can sneak up on them. Whereas if you have the keys set up, ready to go, you can open the car door. Everybody's got a button now, so I have the button ready to go, and open the car door, and stuff goes in real quick, close it up, in the car, gone. Everything is all about being efficient in what you do, basically. avoid large amounts of cash, shop with a friend. So safety in numbers. Just like swimming with the sharks out right off the coast there. There's sharks out there if you didn't know, right? How many people have been in the ocean with a shark? If you've been in the ocean, you've been with a shark, right? Sharks are one of the things they tell you with sharks. Don't do it at night. I don't swim at night or at dusk, right? When visibility is difficult. And don't be by yourself. They're going to pick out the lone one. Well, same thing with criminals. So now we've discovered that if you can defeat a terrorist, you can defeat a thief, and you can defeat a shark. All 3 times. It all ties together. Same stuff all the time. Shop with a friend, shop with a group if you can. And avoid high-end store bags. We talked about that before. Online shoppings. This is a big one, popular now, right? I think everybody has figured out Amazon. My wife has certainly figured out Amazon. I've figured out Amazon. I'm really into Amazon Prime now because we've been watching Man in the High Castle. If you haven't watched that TV series yet, I think it's pretty good. Alternate world where the Japanese and the Germans won World War II. Anyway, I'll get back to the point of the story here. All the online shopping stuff almost has the ability to track when your deliveries are going to show up. I get a constant email at least once a day telling me the status of my package from Amazon. Letting the package sit out on your porch is, for a long period of time, is going to let people think that they can come up and take it. And even if you have the Ring cameras out there, which are great, you know, people have figured out how to defeat those as well. You know, we encourage people to put masks over their face now for the last 3 years. So how many people are still running around? And it's perfectly normal now to see somebody with a mask on. Well, what does a mask prevent us from being able to do? Easily identify anybody, right? So it's not uncommon to see people driving around in a car in a mask. So what's stopping them from driving around in a car in a mask? Oh, that package is still out on the porch because, you know, it got delivered at noon and you don't get home from work until 5. Well, that's 3 hours, 4 hours, 5 hours of opportunity that they have to take a package off your porch. So you can schedule deliveries. And you can track your packages so you know when it's going to be there. This goes into another thing we'll talk about in a little bit, but knowing when and what package that you're expecting, because if you're not expecting a package and something's misspelled on the package, is that a package you should open or take into your house? No. All right. Again, if you can defeat a terrorist, you can defeat a thief, and we can defeat a shark, and we can defeat the Unabomber, all in the same way. Sending your packages when someone is home is even better, right? You can force them to say, hey, they need to, especially if you're ordering something that's high-end, you can put in stipulations in a lot of these companies of it needs to be signed by somebody and the driver needs to check an ID. Back when I was a kid, UPS used to make you sign for everything when you're receiving package. Now you drop it off on the porch. I think my brother up in New Jersey still has to sign for everything, but down here, I guess it's not as big of a deal. But you're able to make sure somebody can sign for that package and they have to check an ID. If you know somebody's home or you're having the package delivered to who somebody's home, works for a couple of reasons. One, you know the person will get the package and or 2, if you're trying to hide that gift from your significant other and you know they check the mail when they come home, at least you have plausible deniability of the gift that you got, and it can actually be a surprise come Christmas morning or wherever. Instructions for delivery. If you don't have those options, you can leave instructions for delivery. Head delivery guy can go around back and put it in whatever spot on the back porch or whatever it happens to be. Most people now have Ring cameras, so you can actually track when that guy shows up. You get an alert on your phone, and you can watch the delivery driver bring it around back, dump off the thing, and then leave. So we have all those options. And then if you're meeting somebody online to exchange something, you are aware that we have an internet exchange spot out there. Pick a neutral location. Never give, if you ever get somebody that says, hey, give me a deposit to hold the item for you, don't give a deposit to hold the item. There's a scam that's gone on recently in Onslow County about that via the Lejeune yard sales site of people giving money of, oh, we'll hold on to it for you and send us this money. And they give a legit address, gave a legit product, but the person, they didn't own the product, they didn't live at the address, and the person had no idea that somebody was selling their motorcycle online. So, yeah, they'll think of anything. All right, traveling. This is a season a lot of people try traveling. I remember back in 1990-ish, time frame. A young couple left California with a newborn or 6-month-old or something like that. Went up through the mountain pass. The road was shut down. They were gone for like 3 weeks, and he ended up walking out and having most of his limbs taken from him due to frostbite. And then the mother was the same way, and the baby was the one that fared the best because they had all the baby fat and, out there. There was a movie made about it. Doogie Howser, MD, played the guy, Neil Patrick Harris, I think is that guy's name. Did a movie about it and all. When they go through, when you watch the movie about it, almost everything from the get-go was improperly planned. They didn't tell anybody the route they were going. They're like, oh, we'll take a shortcut here. They didn't tell anybody to expect them when they arrived. They were trying to do a surprise sort of deal. They had no idea what the weather was going to be. They didn't look at the weather. They had none of the safety kit stuff, roadside assistance wasn't really a thing back then. None of the safety sort of stuff that you would think about having in a car if you're traveling through a place that gets snow in the wintertime. Extra blankets, some food, some water, extra fuel. Then they left the car because the car was found about a week before they were. And then so it was everything that could go wrong went wrong. Planning, the lack of planning went into it. And it's sad to say the guy was in the military, so he probably should have a bit more planning experience. But like every young person that gets a long weekend in the military, planning be damned, I just want to get home as fast as I can. And we've all been there and done that. So maintenance of the car, make sure if you're going long distances that you have a car that's willing to go long distances, right? Maybe not necessarily the 150,000 Aston Martin, but the 1982, Plymouth Duster is probably not the one that you want to use either, right? 72 Plymouth Duster. That's Al Bundy's car for Married with Children, the Dodge. Probably not the car you want to use for a long road trip either. So, have a good quality car to make sure maintenance is up on it. If you can get roadside assistance or your insurance plan covers it, make sure that you know the contact numbers for that. I have USAA anywhere in the country. Any issues I have, I can give the one call for a number, and they'll send out somebody to help me out, and they'll get me out of the bind. Equipment for the trip, know which way you're going. If I'm going to Florida here, I'm not too concerned in December about being snowed in on the side of the road and not being found. Now, if I'm trying to go through the Donner Passing, well, it has a name for a reason, right? I probably want to have the equipment necessary should something go wrong in the car if I'm going to be going through the high Rockies in the wintertime with roads getting shut down to like. Experience in Norway, they shut down roads left and right all the time due to high winds and snow in the middle of the wintertime. And if you were on the road when they shut it down, nobody went through that road until they opened it back up 2 or 3 days later. So if you got stuck, nobody was coming for you. And that far north of the Arctic Circle, cell phone reception was a bit of a problem. So trip route planning routes, drive during daylight hours. I'm going to pick on my military friends for this one as well. Back in the day, we had a 96-hour Liberty, we had a 72-hour Liberty, and then all of a sudden the 72-hour Liberties became 96-hour Liberties, and the 96-hour Liberties became 120-hour Liberties. Because the commanding officers decided that, hey, we need to make sure that the Marines are traveling between noon and noon, so Liberty started at noon and ended on noon. Well, during the wintertime, that gave you 5 hours of daylight, and then the Marine that's hell-bent to make that 20-hour drive in 20 hours straight is now leaving at noon on the day and then spending most of that time driving at night. So then they moved the Liberty hours from Liberty started at 8 o'clock in the morning and ended at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. So that we figured that the Marine that's leaving at the very last minute would spend his whole day driving during daylight hours. Well, there was something to it. It didn't matter. The Marines are Marines. They're going to leave at the very last minute, usually with no sleep, and they're probably up drinking with their friends the night before they get on the road. Just, doing what 22-year-old kids with a driver's license and the money in their pocket all pretty much do. Driving during daylight hours is the goal. If you can plan your trip, my wife is going to be driving up with her mother to New Jersey to visit next week, and part of that is they're leaving at 4 4:30, 5 o'clock in the morning for that 12-hour trip. So that the bulk of the driving between the two of them, neither one of them like driving at night. The bulk of the driving is done in daylight hours, especially when they get to northern New Jersey, the way traffic is up there. It's like you probably want to be during daylight when you're dealing with rush hour traffic up there. And last but not least in this category, don't drink and drive. Sir.
One of the things I would add, and we travel from Wyoming out to North Carolina twice a year, is we always leave a travel plan with somebody and say basically, we're gonna be stopping in Lincoln, Nebraska, or wherever, and we basically check in with that person. Another thing we do is we send pictures of our tag numbers in our car in case something happens. Somebody drives off the road, you never find them. It happened often in Florida. So instead of saying to the police officer, well, you know, I think it was a white car,
Yeah.
now at least they have a tag number and a description, so they could probably go look at it. Just something I picked up recently, and I think it's actually a pretty good idea, so.
And with that, it's exceptionally easier. That's a great suggestion. It's exceptionally easier to take that picture and send it to somebody because almost everybody has a smartphone.
Yeah.
Everybody has a camera and on that phone, and almost everybody can send a picture via that camera. So that's a tremendous idea. That's going to make the slideshow next year. So there you go. All right, traveling. How do you leave your house? So everybody remember the cinematic classic Home Alone, the original one? All right, Joe Pesci's character pretends to be a cop and he goes up and finds out when everybody had their automatic timers put on and the like. And then Macaulay Culkin uses the great strategy of making it seem like somebody's home and throws off the plan. Typically, burglars do not want to be in a house when somebody else is in the house. So if they think somebody's in the house, they're going to skip on and move into it. And as terrible as this sounds, all you're really trying to do is make yourself less of a target and make the other guy down the street more of a target. All right? So it sounds terrible when you phrase it like that, but that's really what you're trying to do. And it was even the same thing we said about anti-terrorism in the military was, you make your base, you make your building, you make your structure, wherever you're protecting, the hardest target possible so that terrorists goes pick something else. Because you know, they only got to get it once, right once. We have to get it right every time. So with your house, what you're trying to do is make your house less targetable than the next person's house. Hopefully in somebody else's neighborhood, hopefully someplace in California where they like this stuff going on. Lock your doors. You know, now you're not home, lock your doors. Lights on timers. I like the idea of lights on timers, but you know, if all the lights in the neighborhood come on at the same time, what does that tell somebody who's watching? Everybody's house is on a timer. If you are an electrician, or you're married to an electrician, or married to somebody whose parents used to be an electrician, like my wife is, you know how to set up different timers and different lights in different houses, or different rooms in a house. So if we want to do it, I can have a light go off in an upstairs bedroom at certain times and go off again, and then downstairs is different. So if somebody's watching it, oh wow. So unless they're watching it for a couple of days straight, and then realize, oh, okay, it's like a tune, they won't know that somebody's not home. Same thing with TVs and radios. You can put those things on timers as well. So you have the TV come on or you have the radio come on. So if somebody's listening in there, oh wow, somebody's watching TV. Okay, somebody might be in there. Those little things, we have all that technology now to be able to make these sorts of little tricks happen. And the whole point is just to make your house less of a target than the person next to you or the house in another neighborhood. Everybody has a Ring camera, they're great. Every criminal knows that almost everybody has a Ring camera. And I use Ring camera, not because I'm promoting that brand, it's just that's the generic term I've learned for doorbell cameras that are out there. I think they were the first company to do it. It's like why we call it Velcro instead of hook and loop, right? Because the technology is hook and loop, the name of the company is Velcro. As I'm getting ready to be, since we're putting this on the air now, I'm probably going to get fined and sued for trademark infringement. All that stuff's good. Have a place to collect the data and then review the stuff regularly. So if you're not home, don't wait till the end of your trip to review what's going on around your house. You probably want to review, because the sooner you get word if something does happen, the sooner you get word to us about it, more likely we're going to be able to do something. Neighbors, again, piggybacking off of what you said about letting them know where we're going, and like talking to neighbors, letting you know what they're going, how long you're going to be gone, where you're going to go, what route you're going to take, all that sort of stuff. Are you expecting packages while you're gone? When does are you leaving out your trash can because you don't want your trash to pile up? Could they bring the trash can back in for you? Who's picking up your mail? Did you stop your mail? All that sort of stuff. And then neighborhood watch. If you have neighborhood watch program, we have a good one here, so it works out pretty well. This is the time that if you know what your neighbors are up to and you see a light going on in the second deck of a house that should not be going on right now, that's probably the time you might want to call law enforcement for us to come out and take a look. I'm not going to say dogs barking, but you should be paying attention when a dog is barking, not necessarily calling us for a dog barking, but if a dog is barking, dogs bark for a reason. So check out why the dog is barking. One of the things I used to like when I was sitting on a post late night in Afghanistan was I knew where all the dogs were. And if the dogs started barking in Afghanistan, I knew somebody was getting ready to try to overrun my wire. And when the dogs got upset in the middle of the night, I got my Marines up and we came home. So when dogs are barking, they bark for a reason. All right, so children. It's never too late to make them paranoid little people like myself, right? No. Try not to scare them. There is something to be said for children still having a little bit of innocence to them and looking at the world with the pure eyes that they have, but that's not an excuse for not telling them to be aware, right? There's a balance there and the like. At the minimum, they should know their name, address, and phone number, so if they do get lost, they do get separated, and they come across a police officer, they can say where they live. It was so difficult to get my kid to remember this information.
We raised 2 boys. And what we ended up doing was having a dog tag made for each one of them. Because kids don't carry ID.
Yep.
They don't remember things. But if they had this thing hanging around their neck, they didn't pay any attention to it.
Yep.
But it had their name, and their address, and their phone number on it.
Yeah.
And they didn't seem to mind doing that.
Oh, good. And that's a good suggestion for people as well. So I don't know what age kids are getting phones now, but I am amazed at how well a kid can work a tablet and work a phone, but they can't remember. Well, I can't remember most phone numbers now too, because I never call myself and don't have to. But it's those little things out there that we need to stress, especially with the kids, especially if they get separated. Or if they're out in a store, in a crowded store, and the kid gets separated that way. Now, we all remember John Walsh's kid from what happened with him. I mean, it was like a 14-year-old kid that got taken. And he's like, yeah, I'm going to be in the audio section or the video game section. At the time, came back, the kid was gone. So kids need to be aware that those things are out there. Stranger danger is not as prevalent as the news media would like you to believe, but it is still a thing that they need to be aware of. They need to know how to identify responsible adults. Just don't go up to a random adult there, but if you're in a department store and you see a department store worker working behind a counter, that's probably the person you want to go talk to, as opposed to some random person that's a shopper. Obviously we want them to approach police officers or firefighters or somebody in a uniform. I like to think that 99.9 times out of 100, it's not somebody pretending to be something they're not, right? But be out there. Identify responsible adults and be comfortable talking to them to have adequate information or a dog tag with it all printed on there for them of how to get help should something happen. And in public restrooms. When possible, keep them, at certain ages. I'm not going into a public restroom with my 14-year-old son. That is just weird. It's not going to happen. He's big enough to handle that now. But when he was 4 and 5, I brought him to I'd bring him into the public restrooms when we needed to. And then online, internet fraud is still a thing. Has anyone else been contacted about that from the rich businessman in Nigeria with a tremendous opportunity? All right? I have out there. He just needs a down payment to pay the little tax thing to get it up there. And
The lottery that that
Yeah.
you never purchased a ticket to.
Yes, exactly. Be aware of email scams. If you don't know the sender, don't click on the link, right? And even if you think you know the sender, don't click on the link. It's one of those things that most people that will be sending you something that you need to know about, they're going to say words to the effect of, I'm going to send you a link. And it's probably safe on that. But the biggest thing is that they can fake emails. A buddy of mine used to call this the email pump fake, where you put a person's email address on the CC line, but you leave out one letter. So it pops up on the email that somebody's receiving, but that person that CC doesn't receive the email. We used to do that when we wanted to scare a junior officer into doing what we needed to do. So I made it look like the general officer was on the email. So the general officer didn't get the email, so we didn't get in trouble that way. But it looks like, the 4-star general was CC'd on the email, and you better get off your butt and get this done. So there's ways for people to send emails and even copy email addresses that and they might just change one letter or one character. And that's enough for you, when you quickly look at it, think, oh, okay, this is from, so-and-so, no problem. And it really isn't. So be aware of that. If you're not expecting an email with a link, chances are you probably shouldn't click on it, right? And the same thing when you order something from Amazon. There's tons of people who fake Amazon emails to my email account all the time. And whenever I have to go double check on anything from Amazon, I back out of the browser, back out of the email, and I go sign into my Amazon account separately, and I go check in on to verify whatever that email was, but I don't click on any of the links. So don't click on links. If it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. I was talking about watching a movie the other day, and I said, these women come into the bar and they start hitting on these guys right away, and I go, it's a trap. And my wife goes, what? I said, anytime a good-looking woman comes up to a guy in a bar, it's a trap. And she goes, no, it's not like that. I'm like, yeah, it is, right? It was too good to be true, it is. And then lastly, artificial intelligence. People are paying attention to news you see out there. All the deep fake sort of stuff that they can do, they're able to mimic email addresses, they're able to mimic voices, they're able to mix. So you really have to be on your toes nowadays. Good communication on the regular with people that you regularly communicate with, so that when somebody calls you up and has a voice faking thing that was done and says, hey, we have somebody, you're not pulled in by that stuff. It's incredible what people can do with these things these days. I'm still worried about what may happen circa the 1984 classic movie Terminator. Skynet's about to become self-aware, and we're making it happen. Judgment Day was back in '97. That's already long gone, so we're about 30 years past due for this to happen. But we're getting closer and closer every day to Skynet becoming self-aware, and that would be bad. Hey, well, thanks very much for coming out today.